Two critical dates are approaching. If you're panicking about the January the 31st tax return for photographers deadline, we have immediate help for you. But more importantly, we're also looking at the massive changes coming in April to ensure your business is future-proofed right now.
Welcome to Commercial Photographer, your guide to marketing, creativity, and growth. This is a podcast that helps commercial, brand, and headshot photographers navigate the competitive world of commercial photography with actionable strategies to grow your business.
Well, hello there, Sam, and welcome to 2026.
Thank you, Marcus. Happy New Year. It's good to see you.
Happy New Year to you as well. And of course, it's that time of the year when I know a lot of people will be thinking about tax.
This week, we're going to be tackling that January crunch, the need to file your tax return. Our guest, Vicki, explains the urgent steps you must take this week to avoid penalties. Second, we look at the big picture, making tax digital. This launches in April and will fundamentally change how you record your income. And we'll help you understand the new quarterly filing rules and why your company business records have to evolve this year.
We've got Vicki Pascoe, and she's going to be talking about tax with us. So, Vicki, hi there. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. And yeah, it is the season for the tax return, is it not?
It is indeed, yes. Well, I would say probably the last 3 to 4 months has been the season for tax. So, yeah, we're now coming to the tail end of it. We're moving towards the deadline very quickly.
The tax return is due end of January. So I think we can go through a few scenarios. But the first is, let's imagine with a photographer who does not have an accountant. What do they need to be doing by now? What do they need to have done already, ideally? And what do they need to do before the 31st?
If you're not thinking about having an accountant, then yeah, you just need to get your income and expenses in order, start at least working through your tax return, because it's not a 10-minute job if you don't have an accountant there supporting you. It can take hours sometimes. So my advice is...
So they need to start now, presumably from the sound of it, not wait till the 31st.
Oh, God.
What, to file your return? Yeah, absolutely.
You want to be getting and doing it now because the form is quite lengthy.
Yes.
You have to have registration and stuff like that, don't
Yeah,
you?
you need to have set up a government gateway. They send you a code that can take up to 10 days to come through. That needs to happen if you're filing on your own as well. And also, don't underestimate the form. For me, I've done it 1,000 times. It's straightforward. For somebody starting out or doing it maybe second or third time, it can be a lengthy process. I've known clients take 10, 12 hours to try and work their way through that form. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Okay, that's going to be 12
And
stressful hours.
Very stressful hours, especially on the 31st.
Yeah. And one of the most important, correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the most important things already having your accounts in order so you have the numbers clear and ready to put in.
Yeah, 100%. You can't start the form if you've not got that information to hand. So income, expenses, net profits, you've got pension contributions that you've made, or if you're receiving pension, so there's all the different elements to it. You need to have all that ready, prepared before you start the form.
Right. You need to be super organised you need to have your accounts done. You need to know what you put in your pension. You need to, if you've got any other income, that all needs to be there too. You need a lot of patience and a lot of time and sit down and work your way through it.
Yeah, you do. You might have income from dividends, investments. You might have a rental property. So if it's just a basic income and expenses, or maybe you are filing because you are over the 100,000 or PAYE, for example, so maybe not a freelancer, that can be quite, you've just got one element to it. But sometimes there's 5, 6, 7 different sections to the tax return, so it can be a lengthy process.
Okay. And then, as you say, presumably if you've got an accountant, that all becomes a lot simpler.
Absolutely. That whole stress is taken away. You literally, for what we do, we will email the client and send them a list of what we require. They send us all the information. We do all of the admin, all the paperwork, all the submission, deal with all of that. So, yeah, that whole stress is taken away.
And as you say, Vicky, it's not just the stress. You can even possibly save money by employing an accountant.
Absolutely. Working with creatives, they're never quite sure what they can claim for, what they can put through. So very often they haven't claimed all of the expenses they can. What they might save in tax quite often outweighs the amount they may pay to an accountant. So it's definitely worth looking into it for sure.
Give us 2 or 3 things that aren't obvious, that are quite surprising that you think that you can claim for as a photographer.
The main one is a use of home. They think because they're out and about all the time that there's no scope. Claim some use of home allowance, and you very much can. That's one that comes up a lot.
As in you're spending time in the home as an office, so you can claim an allowance for that.
Absolutely, and we would look at what their household bills are, rent or mortgage payments, things like that, and look at then how much you spend in the home. Take a percentage of that. So
that's an excellent one. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
And a couple more there, Vicky, you can think of?
Subsistence is another one. When you're out and about, coffees, food, sandwiches from Tesco's, whatever. Again, that one gets missed a lot. Publications is another one. If you're buying a newspaper or a magazine, something work-related, again, those get missed a lot. Mileage is another.
Mileage. What about clothing?
For HMRC, it's a bit of a grey area. For me, it's not. It's absolutely, if you're out on a shoot and you're going into middle of a muddy field and you need a pair of welly boots, then absolutely,
I agree, and it's part of your brand, isn't it? It's part of your clothing. For me, I put clothing in, and it's because I buy clothing specifically to present myself as a photographer.
Absolutely. So again, it's a grey area for HMRC. Well, from HMRC's point of view, but
so it sounds like it's about being sensible. Don't put every pair of jeans you've ever bought through, but if you're getting stuff for a particular shoot for a particular location, like you said, then that's perfectly valid.
Absolutely, but also I've had clients come to me who've been to an accountant who doesn't specialise in creatives, and they've said absolutely not. You can't have that.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's why it's a grey area then.
It's a grey area.
So you're basically there to argue the case for the photography.
I would absolutely argue the case. As I say, if you sort of go to a more traditional accountant or somebody who doesn't specialise in creatives, they would say, no, that's not an allowable expense, whereas I absolutely think it is. Yeah, it's essential. Lots of our clients go on shoots all over the world into all different types of terrain, and they need specialist clothing to do so.
Yeah. What would be a ballpark figure that you would charge a self-employed photographer for doing their accounts?
For a set of accounts, so we have a sort of tiered system. If you are not below the tax threshold, then we charge a mid-tier, and we start at $150 for the accounts and $150 for a tax return.
Sorry, Vicky, when you say below the tax threshold, you mean the VAT threshold? What tax threshold are you talking here?
Tax-free threshold, the 12,500.
12,000.
Okay, so
17, yeah. Okay, that's stage one. And then just one. Give us one more from there.
The next one up, if you're over that, we do a full set of accounts that only goes up to £200 plus VAT.
Oh wow!
And plus your tax return at $150. So you're looking at the basic level of $350 plus VAT.
Mate, that is an absolute bargain, and that's got to be a deal of the century, I think. Even though I do it myself, I won't be.
What about if somebody wanted the bookkeeping thing? So literally, you're doing the bookkeeping and producing their monthly account.
Our bookkeeping prices, that's the only thing we charge by the hour, which is they start at £35 an hour plus VAT.
And then that would just help people keep those monthly accounts in order. So instead of in, I don't know, November, December, January, coming to you with a set of accounts and you going, oh my God, what's this? They're coming with an organised set of accounts.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we would much prefer to take on the bookkeeping as well, because then we know everything's up to date and accurate. But if clients come to us and it is a mess, then we'll take the bookkeeping on as a sort of separate job before we start the accounts, make sure everything's in order.
Which is, again, another reason why this whole process, although we're doing this show now very late, this whole process should have started a long time ago.
April the 6th. Yes. That's when it should start.
Yes. There's some changes underfoot. Let's go through what we might expect moving forward.
Well, the big change for everybody, self-employed and landlords who earn over 50k, is the Making Tax Digital, which comes into effect as of the 6th of April.
So
this year.
Can I clarify then? Does Making Tax Digital mean you have to do your accounts on a paid-for accounting package that then hooks in with HMRC?
Yes, long and short, it absolutely does. It's the big changes are for those people will be quarterly filings.
Okay. So first of all, before we go into the details,
submission,
at the moment, who needs to be doing Making Tax Digital?
People who are going to be included will have received a letter by now from HMRC, but it's everyone who in the 24-25 tax year earned over 50,000 and is self-employed or a landlord. Those are the two categories of people that are included into this first wave of Making Tax Digital.
Okay, so if you're a new photographer starting out and you don't know how much you're going to earn, do you need to just do this straight away or not?
No, not at all. If you were starting now, they would be assessed once you've filed your next set of accounts, your next self-assessment. At that point, it will come in.
So sorry, apologise for you. Carry on. So for these people who have to do it, what's it all about?
It's quarterly filings, a bit like if you're VAT registered, you file on a quarterly basis. The same now will apply to those people. So we'll be gathering information for a quarter and submitting those figures to HMRC, and then we would have a final submission. If there's been any changes or there's any adjustments, those will be made on that final submission. And
so
then
it's kind of end of the year tidy up if there have been any changes, any mistakes, and you're allowed to do that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yes.
That makes sense. For my business, I have an accountant. I use Xero. I've been paying it for you, and Xero is what, correct me if I'm wrong, Vicky, 20 quid a month, 30 quid a month, that kind of cost. And I'm VAT registered, and it sounds quite scary. You got to submit to go, and it is so easy. I mean, my accountant helps, but effectively, somebody presses a button and it goes, "Ooh, you owe this much VAT," and it tells the taxman I pay it. Job done. It's a really simple process once a quarter.
That final bit is simple. It's the lead up to theirs. Being on software will alleviate a lot of the problems because you'll be keeping up to date with your bookkeeping. The records will be nice and clear. You know, if you're on spreadsheets,
I have to be honest.
the transition
it's not
from
me doing this. It's my bookkeeper on this. If I was doing this, yes, it'd be a bit less.
I mean, I do my own, and at the moment, I'm doing it on a spreadsheet. So I'm going to be affected by this. So I'm all
for the people on spreadsheets, but the transition is going to be the sort of more challenging one, should we say, because you're going to be going from spreadsheets onto a piece of software. So you've then got to decide: am I going to do the bookkeeping myself, or am I going to engage with a bookkeeper to do it for me? There's two schools of thought there. Once you've learned the software, you can get on and do it, but you've also got to understand how to allocate. There's a problem. Will you be able to identify that problem? You've got a bookkeeper on board, then all that issue goes, their experience, and they'll be able to do all of that for you. And then the final submission, if a bookkeeper's doing that, you can feel absolutely reassured that when the submission goes, it's all correct when it gets filed to HMRC.
And I guess it's this almost when you're thinking about outsourcing any part of your business, isn't it? It partly does with you've got the reassurance, like you said, that a professional's done it. So HMRC are probably not going to investigate you because a professional's done it. They can see that, everything's right. So you got that guarantee. But it is also looking at your time as well, isn't it? And you go, right, how much time do I have? What do I want to spend it doing? Would I rather spend more time promoting my business, doing photo shoots, or doing my accounts? And some photographers absolutely love doing their accounts, and some photographers actually hate doing their accounts, and it will partly be just that, won't it? What's your priority? Actually, I'd prefer to pay somebody to do my marketing, and I love doing my accounts. Or actually, maybe for other people, it's the other way around, and what's the priority for their business and for them?
Yeah, that's exactly it, as you say. I mean, having worked with creators for a long time, I would say there's probably 90% prefer to spend time on their business as opposed to the 10% doing accounts. The other issue is, I say to clients, you have to remember you're learning software, but if you want to do it yourself, we have no problem. We'll support you through that. But you are essentially saying, I'm going to become a bookkeeper overnight. You feel that your head is in that space and you can do it, absolutely. But with my experience with creatives, their head isn't generally in that space.
It's making me think straight away, why am I doing this? I should get someone else to do it. It's changed the playing field. Oh, oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Certainly, it's changed the playing field for photographers, for all freelancers, for all creatives, but it's also changed the playing field for accountants as well.
What's your thoughts on a photographer when and if you should make that move from being a freelancer to being a limited company? Is the kind of turnover point at which it's a big advantage, or in terms of the liabilities it was thinking about? What's your thoughts on that?
It's both, really. Freelancer sole trader comes and said, I want to become limited. My first question is why? Tax benefits that you get or used to get years ago from being a limited, obviously a lot of loopholes are closed. So your turnover needs to be, I would say, around 200,000 before you start to see a sort of tax savings.
Okay.
Yeah, whereas before there was the dividend taxes, free dividends for 5,000, all of that's changed now. So yeah, my first question is why. It does complicate things. There's more compliance work. Once we've got to the bottom of why, then we move forward and say, okay, yes, go for it. That's the right thing for you to do. Or no, actually, I think you should stay where you are.
So from a tax point of view, you've actually got to be a pretty big turnover before that's worth thinking about. But
That's an interesting way of
what's your
looking at
thought from that liability point of view? Because obviously you do have that limited liability, or if you've got your insurance in place, your public liability insurance is, does it really not matter that much, do you think?
No, it's definitely, that is always one of the questions I ask as well about the liability. Do you need to have some sort of protection, have the limited company as a separate entity to yourself? What's the sort of bigger picture here? And depending on what that looks like, as a photographer, if they feel confident, I've been doing this for years, I've never had any nobody's ever come back and said they don't like my
I know
pictures,
you said they're not coming in yet, but
there's no risk there, is there? So there's no reason for them to, potentially to move into a limited company. If they're in a sort of maybe higher risk degree, then yes, I would advise let's go down that route. And also the other is sometimes it's all about kudos. Do you need, from the outside world, from a perspective from a client, do you need to be a limited company to give you a bit more kudos? And it can be all about that, because it can be viewed differently. Not so much these days, but maybe a few years ago, if you're a limited company, it gave you more kudos. So if that was the case, depending on the type of client the photographer is sort of reaching out to, if that needs to be in place to gain more clients, then yes, of course, I would advise, let's do it, go for it. Yeah. They talk about lowering the VAT threshold. Again, it will add another layer of complexity to people that haven't had to worry. A lot of my clients will deliberately keep their turnover below the 90,000 to avoid going into the VAT.
So that's the turnover at the moment. So just if we can make the rules really clear for photographers who aren't clear at the moment. So are you saying that it's basically if your business has a turnover of £90,000 or more, you must be VAT registered, and if it's less, you don't need to be?
Yes.
And is that after a year? So
absolutely.
Let's say last year, you're just trundling around in your world, but let's say suddenly this year it's going really well, and after 6 months you go, oh, I'm probably going to be over that by the end of the year. When do you have to do something? Do you wait till the end of the year and then work it out, or do you have to do it as you're going? How does that work?
This is another misconception as well about it being on a sort of year, that people think, oh, it runs in line with the tax year. It's not. It's on a 12-month rolling basis. So you could go over the threshold, say, after 3 months, because you get a big contract, and suddenly you're up to 90,000. So at that 3-month point, you have to, as soon as you hit it, or you're going to hit it, you have to register.
I'm really clear. So it's now January. Let's say in February, I get a big contract. And what I have to do is look at my accounts, be it my software or my spreadsheet, and I go, right, what did I earn since last February? And it's just wherever you are, you just look back over the last year and you go, what have I earned in the last year? And if I go, oh, that big contract sending me over 90, I now need to think about this.
Yeah. And you need to keep an eye on a rolling basis, every 12 months. Now, there is one caveat to that. If you get a big contract and it's a one-off and it's taking you over, and you know that you're not going to, 3 or 4 months, it's going to then you'll come back under the threshold, you can apply for an exception for that one-off. And you can do that once a year as well. So if that happens, because that happens a lot with creatives.
Okay, so there's exemptions for just little bumps in the road.
Sam, that was the perfect way to kick off 2026. It's rare to get help that covers both the immediate firefighting of a deadline and the long-term strategy. The first takeaway for me was the January deadline strategy. Vicki made it clear that even if you're doing it yourself, you cannot leave the final data entry until the 31st because of those hidden admin delays. Secondly, the Making Tax Digital segment was a real eye-opener. For any commercial photography business hitting that turnover threshold, the transition to digital software this April is a requirement that changes how we work every single month. And finally, I love the discussion on outsourcing. It's about value. Realising that a good bookkeeper or accountant doesn't just do the maths, they free up your time to actually be a photographer and can often find savings that more than cover their fee.
And don't forget that you can get for free the Commercial Photographer Guide to Creativity and Marketing. After all, that's what this show is all about. To get your free download, all you need to do is go to our website at commercial-photographer-podcast.com/creativity. Let me do that one again. commercial-photographer-podcast.com/creativity. And from there, you can get your free guide from us to marketing and creativity.
I found that really interesting.
Glad, because obviously I find it extremely interesting.
If our listeners want to, and viewers, if you're on YouTube, they want to get in touch, do a little bit more about where they can find you.
So I have my website, www.creativeandnumbers.co.uk, or they can just email me, Vicki@creativeandnumbers.co.uk, Vicki with an I, that is, not a Y. Certainly I've got a contact form and a meet me button on the website where they can just book in and have a discovery call with me.
Amazing.
With no obligation.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing all of that brilliant information with our listeners.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks
Vicki.
so much. Vicki and Marcus, I will see you next week.
Next week, Sam.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to make sure you never miss a show, head to the website commercial-photographer-podcast.com and sign up to the newsletter. We'll be back next week with more practical advice to help you grow your business. See you next time.